Yo guys, this is Psych Maestro. For today's video, I'm going to discuss about spirituality. So as an atheist, I am very much curious about the word spirituality. So maraming questions. Is spirituality just for the religious people? For spirituality to make sense, do we really have to believe in spirits or whatever? So, or could we conceive of spirituality without needing to believe in religion? Parang ganon. So that's the question that I'm trying to explore. So basically, the psychology of spirituality. So the title for this presentation is The Spirituality of Mitch. So Mitch is me, Psych Maestro. So basically, this is a presentation that I presented in my master's class because I'm enrolled in masters in clinical psychology. So basically, we're going to talk about spirituality from a psychological perspective. I'm going to cite some papers and parang ganun. So basically investigating what the definition of spirituality, and going beyond that, are there tools available to measure the spirituality of atheists. So basically ganun lang ang paper natin, guys. So next slide. Oh, there is a growing literature on the topic of spirituality in the field of psychology. So basically, the names and the years are the papers na cited. So Piedmont, Richards, and Yabot. So the literatures lean more on sa literature from the foreign countries. While meron tayong isang paper from the Philippines, this is a paper from Yabot 20 published 2018. So, researchers consider spirituality as a complex subject concept which may or may not contain religiosity. So, yun, na-answer natin yung isang question na, does spirituality really require religiosity? Does it really entail prayer or ganon? So, that actually answers one of our questions. So, it may or may not contain religiosity because some spirituality is, meron tayong tinatawag na Christian spirituality of having a relationship with God or Jesus or the Holy Trinity or whatever, and also non-religious spirituality, which we will talk about later. Okay. So while some studies feature a religious component of spirituality, so meron talang religious spirituality, other studies focus on distinguishing spirituality from religion. So these studies separate spirituality from religion. So parang ganon. So basically, it suggests that you don't have to be religious in order to be spiritual. Okay? Okay. So for the next slide, we're going to explore some religious definitions and secular or non-religious definitions. So first, I picked out two religious definitions. So the human experience of God's gracious call to our relationship with Himself. So this is a note, guys, that this is a religious definition of spirituality. So since religious definition na-mention ang word na God. So if you don't believe in God, or if you believe in many gods like Hindus, so wala, you can't respond to that gracious call because you don't believe anyway. So hindi siya, that's the definition of spirituality that doesn't apply to us atheists and doesn't apply to Buddhists because Buddhists don't believe in the Christian God, and also doesn't apply to Hindus because Hindus believe in many gods and not the Christian or Muslim God. Okay? So the next definition is the systematic of practice of or reflection on a prayerful, devout, and disciplined Christian life. So again, na-mention ang word na Christian. So excluded in this type of spirituality, excluded na ang non-Christians. So atheist, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindus, etc., 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 and all other world religions, because na-mention ang word na Christian life. Okay? So, but we're going to explore more definition that includes other religions, okay? So the next definition of spirituality are the secular definitions. Secular meaning non-religious. And when non-religious, included na yung atheist, non-spiritual but not religious, Buddhist, yun. So the first definition is a transcendent dimension within human experience. So very vague yung definition, but transcendent meaning beyond us, beyond. So anything that goes beyond the human experience. So transcendental experience, okay? So I kuan within what kung ano yung elaboration ng definition na binigay nila Fransk and Gorsuch. I don't know how to pronounce their their names. Kung ano yung definition, mas na-elaborate pa yan yun sa paper nila na pinublish nung 1984. So I can't elaborate it because I haven't read it. Uh, but there are many definitions talaga ng ng spirituality. I just picked two of them that may that are simple and catches attentions. But if you're interested, you could always search for the literature. You could always read psych articles about spirituality. Okay, let's move on for to the second definition. Our response to a deep and mysterious human yearning for self-transcendence and surrender, a yearning to find our place. So yun, I really love this definition because it's a deep and mysterious yearning. So meron tayong yearning for something beyond, a self-transcendence, going beyond ourself. Parang ganun. So hindi siya selfish, instead selfless, going beyond ourselves. Parang lumalabas tayo beyond na iniisip natin yung kung anong kailangan ko, what are my needs, going beyond that. So what are the needs of humanity, parang mga ganun, ano ang yung higher values, higher morality, higher responsibility, those could fall under the definition of spirituality. So going beyond ourselves, so lending our hands to other people, parang ganon, and thinking about not only ourselves but our country, thinking about nature, thinking about people who are suffering. So that's one definition. It's deep and mysterious yearning for self-transcendence. Self-transcendence meaning going beyond ourselves, a yearning to find our place. And that's another a part of the definition, a yearning to find our place. Finding our place, our purpose, kung bakit tayo nandito, and saan tayo sa mundo, and how we relate to other So I'm very much stretching the definition, but that might as well be another definition of spirituality. As I said, there are many definitions of spirituality. You could always search for it in the internet and read psychological, sociological, theological, philosophical articles about spirituality. So this is a very complex subject, and so many competing definitions. So if you want to look it up, be sure to be prepared and have an open mind in exploring spirituality. Okay, next slide. So the question in this paper that I presented in our class is, what is Mitch's level? So sino si Mitch? I am Mitch. A psych maestro, my real name's Mitch. So what is Mitch's level of spirituality as determined by Delaney's spirituality scale? So the spirituality scale is published on 2003. So medyo dated na siya. Probably there are more spirituality scales out there, but I'm using Delaney, and I'll explain that later kung bakit yan ang ginamit ko na spirituality scale. So I'm going to measure my own spirituality. So yun. So for this study, the researcher will use the Delaney spirituality scale to determine my level of spirituality. The spirituality scale by Delaney 2003 is a holistic assessment instrument that focuses on beliefs, intuitions, lifestyle choices, practices, rituals that represent the human spiritual dimension. So basically guys, ang ginamit ko ay yung scale ni Delaney. I'll discuss more on that later. So basically, I'm confining myself the definition ng spirituality na binigay ni Delaney, hindi yung spirituality ng iba't ibang psychologist, sociologist, theologian, philosopher. So, confine lang natin kay Delaney lang na definition ating ifa-follow. Okay, guys? Pero kung meron pang other definition, we can explore that in another video or whatever. Okay? So, conceptual framework. So, spirituality encompasses a personal, interpersonal, and transpersonal context consisting of four interrelated domains. So, basically, this is the conceptual framework for Delaney's scale, Delaney's spirituality scale. So, first is A, higher power and universal intelligence, a belief in a higher power or universal intelligence that may or may not include a formal religious practice. So, very interesting ang binigay na definition ni Delaney is because she used the word higher power or universal intelligence. That doesn't necessarily mean nga God or specifically the Christian God or whatever. So higher power, that's very vague definition. So if you believe in a deistic God or God but not a personal God pero hindi si Jesus or whatever, pero meron kang belief in some sort of higher power or universal power intelligence, ay meron kang some kind of belief in that without not necessarily from organized religions, but meron kang vague belief in that concept. So that's yun yung tinutukoy ni Delaney. So very general siya. It could be Christian God, it could be Muslim God, it could be your own personal conception of God. It could be many gods. It could also mean beyond yung hindi siya gods but just a vague concept of a higher power or universal intelligence. Yun yung gustong-gusto ko sa definition ni Delaney because it includes people who are not subscribed to an organized religion pero meron silang some concept of higher power or universal intelligence. So, marami na akong sinasabi. So, the next domain sa scale ni Delaney is self-discovery. So, the spiritual journey begins with an inner reflection and a search for meaning and purpose. So, included yan sa definition ni Delaney is search for meaning and purpose. So, meaning and purpose doesn't necessarily need or require the belief in God. So, pares, like I said, Buddhists don't believe in God. They just follow the teachings of Buddha. So, yun nung pinaka-basic. They follow the teachings of Buddha. Doesn't necessarily require that doesn't necessarily require a belief in God. Okay? So, yeah. So, merong tayong search for meaning and purpose. The process of self-discovery leads to growth, healing, and transformation. So, self-discovery. So, growth, healing, and transformation. So, that's a very nice domain. So, the next is relationships. An integral connection to others based on deep respect and reverence for life is known and experienced within relationships. So, hindi masyado gi-specify ni Delaney anong klaseng relationship, but we could uh, try to assume that it's relationship with other people, with our parents, with our friends, with our colleagues, and etc. So the third is eco-awareness, an integral connection to nature based on a deep respect and reverence to the environment and a belief that the earth is sacred. So basically, yun yung definition. So eco-awareness is not only is extending the bounds of spirituality. Hindi lang siya confined to humans but also to the environment, how we care for plants and animals, how we care for the environment, inaalagaan ba natin, and also do we respect the earth as sacred, do we make steps in taking care of our own planet. So that's the one of the things nga gustong-gusto ko sa yung conceptualization ni Delaney for spirituality is hindi siya limited lang to God or prayer, but all or hindi din siya limited lang to people but also to our planet, to plants and animals. Hindi dimension yung plants and animals, per environment, so included na yun. So, it is interesting to note the two factors, eco-awareness and higher power and universal intelligence, collapse into a single factor during the factor analysis. Hindi ko na i-discuss anong meaning ng factor analysis, because that's a very psych concept. So, but you could always search for that. You could always research kung anong definition of factor analysis. So, but I won't be explaining that here. Okay? So ito yung conceptual framework, ito yung visual representation sa four domains. So basically awareness, self-discovery, relationships. So yung yung isa lang yun, eco-awareness kasi conjoined na yung eco-awareness with yung belief in a higher power and yun. Okay? Belief in a yun. Belief in a higher power and universal intelligence. So conjoined na yung dalawang domain sa eco-awareness. Okay. So, ito yung another thing na gustong-gusto ko sa spirituality scale ni Delaney is because it has a very good psychometric properties. Isa yun sa kailangan natin to look for if we're going to use psychological tools. We must ask ourselves, does that tool have good psychometric properties? So first, content validity. An expert panel of 5 members with expertise in the area of spirituality rated each item on a scale in regard to cla- to clarity and relevance using a 4-point Likert scale. Results reveal that content validity index of the SS, or the spirituality scale, is 0.94 or 94%. So basically they agree that the content is valid. Yung panel members, yung experts in the field of spirituality. Okay? So very good psychometric properties. So that's a very relevant and important thing to consider. So, okay na yung content validity. Yung second na natin na pag-usapan is the internal reliability. So, is it internally reliable or internally consistent? So, ito, Cronbach alpha coefficient is for the total the total is of the spirituality scale is 0.94. That's very good. Masyadong mataas yung Cronbach alpha. So very internally reliable. Wala masyadong contradictions between sa items ng spirituality scale. So the coefficients of the three subscales range from 0.81 yung pinakamababa, 0.81 to 0.94 yung pinakamataas. So three subscales. So yung subscales being eco-awareness, self-discovery, and yung isa. So ito yung spirituality scale. So actually free itong test. You could look it up in the internet, read the paper, take a screenshot, and as long as if ever gamitin mo yung in a massive way, you kina-encourage ni Delaney na i-contact siya, parang ganon, kasi she could use um, the results to improve her research. Okay, so ito yung mga I'll just read a few of them. Finding meaning in life experiences, having a sense of purpose. I am happy about the person I've become. I see sacredness in everyday life. I meditate to gain access to my inner spirit and whatever, and from from 1 to 23 items. So ganon. Then rate it from 1 to 6. 1 being strongly disagree to 6 strongly agree. So a 6-point Likert scale. So basically yun. If you answer that, the tool will try to gauge your spirituality. So meron tayong guidelines kung anong interpretations ng scoring system. Excuse me. So basically, anyone can take the test. It's free. You could look it up. You could go on. You could apply it to yourself. Parang ganun. Okay? So ito yung scoring system and interpretations ng scores from 23 to 60 is very low levels of spirituality. So basically under 23 kwan 23 mga pinaka ang lowest because the lowest from 1 to 6 in the Likert scale is 1. So if 1 lahat 23 would be the lowest. Okay, the lowest level of spirituality. From 23 to 60, very low levels of spirituality. 61 to 91 is indicates low level of spirituality. 92 to 117 is moderate, and 118 to 138 and is on high levels of spirituality or spiritual wellness. So 138 kung mataas lahat yung factors. Kung mataas lahat yung rating mo ng spirituality. Okay. So basically, here's my brief overview of my of my background. So relevant ito because mentioning your religion is also part of assessing your spirituality. So kung ano ka, kung Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Muslim, ano pa, Buddhist or whatever, or wala talaga or non-religious ka, that's an important thing to note when considering spirituality. Okay, my name is Mr. Imanos, age 24. I finished a bachelor's degree in psychology, ethnicity Filipino. I'm single. Guys, single pa ko. Napamoy chance. Char. Girls, napamoy chance. Okay, religion, none. I'm an atheist. So, do you consider yourself a religious person? Not at all. So, I'm not a religious person. But do you consider yourself a spiritual person? So, I think I'm moderately spiritual. Okay, moderately spiritual. So, um, siguro I'm falling in the category of spiritual but not religious. So that's a category. That's a category. But I usually identify myself as an atheist rather than spiritual or but not religious. Yun, that's SBNR, spiritual but not religious. Okay, so moderate. I consider myself moderately spiritual. Okay, so yun, moderately spiritual according to myself. But ano yung sinasabi ng scale? So sinasabi ng scale that I have the raw score of 104, which suggests moderate spirituality. So even if I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, I'm moderately spiritual. So yun yung interesting about Kwan. So that doesn't mean that you're an atheist, you're automatically not a spiritual person or very low na agad yung spirituality mo. So, yun yung interesting thing na I would like to note kasi ginamit ko yung paper, nagbasa ako ng maraming articles and papers with regards to spirituality na kita ko to, and yun, moderately spiritual according to this. And of course, I would like to note na kung iba yung tool na ginamit mo, iba yung spirituality tool or spirituality scale na ginamit mo, na iba din yung results. Okay. It could mean na moderately spiritual ako dito and probably low ako sa ibang spirituality scale. For example, I recall na nakita ko yung scale ni Sir Yabot, yung pinublish na yung paper, maraming God sa yung scale. So probably I would rate 111 sa Likert scale. So probably very low akong spirituality sa spirituality scale ni Yabot. But that's a story for another day. But in the scale of Delaney, I'm moderately spiritual. Okay. Okay, meron pa yung limitations. I will just go over it. First of all, the results are limited to the properties of the tool used. So, ito lang, yung confine tayo sa tool na ginamit natin, which is yung spirituality scale ni Delaney. Then, second is Results are limited to the personal assessment without any insight from other raters. So meron tayong other, kung sakali if we bring other people in and ask them about how spiritual is Mitch and use this scale to rate Mitch's spirituality, posible na iba yung perceptions ng spirituality for my spirituality if other yung mag-rate. For example, my best friend or my or my parents or my close friends, my barkada, iba yung perception nila sa aking spirituality. But for the purpose of this presentation, ang nag-rate lang sa aking spirituality is myself. Okay? Yun. Another thing to note is results may be biased to present social desirability. So basically, posible na bias ako, posible that I'm overlooking something. But yun, that's one thing to consider. But for the purpose of the study, client is assumed to be answering as truthfully as he can. So I'm trying to be as truthful as I can. Hindi ako nag-embellish ng kung kuan or whatever. So, yun. Okay, so here are the discussion and recommendations. The linear spirituality skill is useful in determining spirituality. So, yun. Further discussion about one's religious affiliation could impact spirituality could be explored. So like I said, kung iba-ibang spirituality, kuan kasi iba yung methods ng, for example, iba yung way of prayer ng Muslim, way of prayer ng Catholics, way of prayer ng Baptists, ng born again, etc., etc. Iba-iba yung spirituality. So one's religious affiliation could really impact a person's spiritual life and a person's spirituality. Okay. Exploration of the psychological tests for spirituality is highly encouraged. So more psychological tests, more exploration, more research could be done about spirituality. So very kuan kanang isang test pa lang ang present ko. Excuse me. Isang test pa lang to, and there are many others, and there are many more concepts and many more definitions about spirituality. And also one thing about spirituality is hindi siya confined sa psychology lang. Spirituality is discussed in theology, spirituality is discussed in philosophy, anthropology, sociology, and iba pa yung and many other branches of humanities and social sciences. Spirituality is a very, very kuan siya nga subject. Very, very rich and complex, and maraming competing definitions that talk about spirituality. Okay. Last thing, further studies on spirituality is highly recommended to enrich deeper understanding about the topic. So basically, sinabi ko na yon, yung mga things nga sinabi ko just further and reinforces this idea. Okay. So, yun guys, actually ito nang ending yung discussions and recommendations. Thank you for staying with me. So, this is like Maestro. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. I'll be putting the links down below if curious kayo kung gaano kayo ka-spiritual sa link sa test na ginawa ni Delaney. So, thank you guys. That's all for this video.